My dear friends, today I am going to speak about something that may be uncomfortable to hear, but necessary to understand. You see, the difference between a wise woman and a foolish one is not about intelligence. It is about the choices she makes. A foolish woman is not merely someone who lacks knowledge. She is someone who refuses to apply wisdom, even when it is given to her. Now, why should you stay and listen to this message? Because the world is full of women who are unknowingly walking the path of foolishness, ruining their own lives, their families, and their futures. Perhaps you know someone like this. Perhaps if we are honest, we have all acted foolishly at times. But the real question is, how do we recognize it? And more importantly, how do we change? If you truly desire to see transformation, if you seek wisdom over foolishness, then stay with me. This message is not just for women. It is for everyone who wants to understand the power of wisdom and the dangers of foolishness. Would you like me to continue with the full speech? A wise woman and a foolish woman may walk the same streets, live under the same sky, and face the same trials, but their choices will set them worlds apart. Wisdom is not simply the ability to gather knowledge, for even the most educated person can be foolish. It is the ability to apply that knowledge with understanding, discretion, and foresight. A foolish woman, on the other hand, rejects wisdom even when it is laid before her. She does not lack intelligence. She lacks the humility to learn, the patience to discern, and the discipline to choose wisely. A foolish woman often walks into destruction not because she is unaware of the warning signs, but because she refuses to acknowledge them. She allows pride to cloud her judgment, convincing herself that she knows best, even when her path leads to heartache. She ignores wise counsel, dismissing the words of those who have walked before her. Where a wise woman seeks guidance, listens, and reflects, a foolish woman charges ahead without thought, assuming that her way is the only way. She confuses stubbornness for strength and impulsiveness for courage, never realizing that wisdom is found in restraint and understanding. Her relationships suffer because she does not recognize the weight of her words or the consequences of her actions. She may be quick to anger, reckless in speech, and careless with the hearts of those who love her. Instead of nurturing peace, she sows discord. Instead of lifting others up, she tears them down. A foolish woman believes she is proving her independence, but in reality, she is isolating herself. Wisdom teaches that strength is not in loudness, but in quiet understanding. It is not in winning arguments, but in knowing when to hold one's tongue. A foolish woman is often driven by short-term gratification, chasing after things that glitter but hold no value. She may prioritize vanity over character, pleasure over purpose, and self-indulgence over self-discipline. She does not consider the future, only the fleeting desires of the present moment. She spends without thinking, loves without discernment, and trusts without wisdom. She falls into traps that a wise woman would have seen from miles away. When trouble comes, she blames others instead of reflecting on her own choices. In the end, the foolish woman does not destroy only herself, but those around her. Her children, if she has them, suffer under her carelessness. Her relationships break under the weight of her pride. Her future is dim because she refuses to seek the light of wisdom. And the greatest tragedy of all is that she often does not see her own downfall until it is too late. A woman's influence is one of the most powerful forces on earth. Whether she realizes it or not, she carries the ability to shape the hearts of those around her, to inspire greatness or to lead into ruin. A wise woman understands the weight of this responsibility, but a foolish woman misuses it, often to the detriment of herself and those who trust her. Influence is not about position or authority. It is about the impact a woman has through her words, actions, and the example she sets. When this influence is handled carelessly, it becomes a tool of destruction rather than a force for good. A foolish woman uses her influence for selfish gain, manipulating rather than guiding, controlling rather than nurturing. She speaks without considering the consequences, using her words as weapons rather than instruments of encouragement. Her influence, instead of uplifting those around her, spreads bitterness, envy, and division. She fuels gossip, tears others down, and finds satisfaction in stirring conflict. Rather than being a source of wisdom, she becomes a source of confusion. In relationships, her influence can be either a blessing or a curse. A wise woman builds her home, strengthens her partner, and raises her children with love and discipline. A foolish woman, however, undermines her own household, creating chaos where there should be peace. She belittles rather than supports, complains rather than uplifts, and takes rather than gives. Her selfishness blinds her to the needs of others, and her impatience destroys what patience could have built. The impact of a woman's influence in the home cannot be overstated. It can be the difference between a place of refuge and a place of turmoil. Her influence extends beyond her home into friendships, workplaces, and communities. A foolish woman may encourage reckless behavior in others, pulling them into poor decisions rather than guiding them toward wisdom. She may pressure her friends into choices that bring regret, justify wrongdoing, or celebrate vanity and materialism over character. Instead of being a light, she becomes a stumbling block, leading others away from what is good and right. True influence is not in the loudness of one's voice, but in the depth of one's character. A foolish woman often seeks influence for personal validation, craving attention rather than true impact. She desires to be admired, but does not seek to be respected. She chases popularity rather than wisdom, forgetting that true influence is earned, not demanded. The tragedy is that she may never realize the harm she has done until it is far too late to undo the damage. A woman who does not respect herself cannot expect others to respect her. Self-respect is the foundation upon which dignity, confidence, and honor are built. It is not about arrogance or pride, but about understanding one's worth and refusing to compromise on what truly matters. A foolish woman, however, disregards this principle. She allows others to mistreat her, accepts less than she deserves, and settles for situations that strip away her value rather than adding to it. She may believe that pleasing others, even at the cost of her dignity, will bring her happiness, but in the end, it only leads to heartbreak. A woman without self-respect often seeks validation from external sources, attention from men, approval from friends, or recognition from the world. She may dress, speak, or act in ways that draw momentary admiration but leave her feeling empty inside. She confuses attraction with value, thinking that being noticed is the same as being cherished. She may tolerate disrespectful relationships, allowing herself to be treated as an option rather than a priority. She may chase love without first loving herself, leading her into the arms of those who do not honor her. Her lack of self-respect is evident in the way she carries herself. She allows toxic people into her life, accepts lies over truth, and ignores red flags that wisdom would have warned her against. She may give her time, energy, and heart to people who drain her, never realizing that true love and respect begin with boundaries. A wise woman knows when to walk away, but a foolish woman stays in situations that diminish her, hoping for change that will never come. She becomes trapped in cycles of disappointment, wondering why she is never truly valued. A woman who does not respect herself also fails to respect her mind and body. She may engage in destructive habits, ignoring the long-term effects of her choices. She may sacrifice her dreams, settling for mediocrity instead of striving for greatness. She does not invest in herself, choosing temporary pleasures over lasting growth. Instead of building a future, she wastes time on things that do not serve her purpose. A woman of wisdom knows that self-respect is not selfish. It is essential. Without self-respect, a woman loses her power. She becomes easily influenced by others, shaped by the opinions of those who do not have her best interests at heart. She forgets that she was created for more than just existing. She was made to thrive, but a foolish woman does not see this. She gives away her worth little by little until one day she looks in the mirror and no longer recognizes herself. Emotions are a powerful force in a woman's life. They can be a source of great strength, allowing her to love deeply, nurture with compassion, and stand firm in conviction. But when emotions are not tempered by wisdom, they become dangerous. A foolish woman allows her feelings to control her, leading her into decisions that bring regret, pain, and destruction. She reacts instead of reflects, speaks without thinking, and follows her impulses without considering the consequences. Where a wise woman exercises self-control, a foolish woman lets her emotions dictate her actions, often to her own downfall. A woman ruled by her emotions is unpredictable, swinging from joy to despair, from love to hatred, from excitement to rage, all within a short span of time. She may lash out in anger, saying things that cannot be taken back. She may make decisions in the heat of the moment that alter the course of her life in ways she never intended. Instead of thinking through her actions, she lets temporary feelings push her toward permanent consequences. She burns bridges in moments of frustration, destroys relationships out of insecurity, and sabotages opportunities because of fleeting fears. A foolish woman confuses emotions with truth. She believes that because she feels something strongly, it must be right. She trusts her heart blindly, forgetting that emotions can deceive. One moment she is deeply in love, the next she is walking away, not because the love was false, but because she let fear, doubt, or past wounds speak louder than reason. She believes lies about herself because of how she feels in a single moment rather than standing on the truth of who she is. A wise woman, however, understands that feelings change, but principles remain. She does not let her emotions dictate her destiny. This emotional recklessness affects every aspect of a woman's life. In friendships, she becomes possessive, jealous, or overly sensitive, driving people away with her instability. In the workplace, she struggles to maintain professionalism, allowing frustration to cloud her judgment. In her personal life, she makes hasty choices, rushing into relationships, quitting commitments on a whim, or indulging in things that bring momentary comfort but long-term pain. Instead of mastering her emotions, she becomes a prisoner to them. The foolish woman never stops to ask, is this feeling leading me toward wisdom or destruction? She does not pause to breathe, to think, to seek counsel before acting. She moves with the winds of emotion, and in doing so, she finds herself lost, unstable, and exhausted. But the saddest part is that she often does not see that her greatest enemy is not the world around her. It is her own unchecked emotions leading her astray. Truth is a foundation upon which wisdom is built, but a foolish woman disregards it, choosing instead to live in deception, denial, or outright lies. She does not seek what is right. She seeks what is convenient, what feels good, or what supports her desires, regardless of whether it is true. A wise woman embraces truth even when it is uncomfortable. But a foolish woman rejects it, preferring illusions over reality. She is easily misled, manipulated by false promises, and blind to the consequences of ignoring what is real. A foolish woman does not want to be corrected. Even when wisdom is spoken into her life, she turns away, refusing to listen. She surrounds herself with people who tell her what she wants to hear, rather than what she needs to hear. She dismisses the advice of those who have walked before her, choosing instead to follow the opinions of those who reinforce her misguided choices. She confuses agreement with wisdom and comfort with truth. She would rather be validated in her mistakes than challenged toward growth. Her disregard for truth extends to her relationships. She ignores warning signs, convincing herself that things will change even when all evidence says otherwise. She allows herself to be deceived by charm, flattery, and empty promises, falling for the same mistakes repeatedly. She tells herself that love is enough, even when respect and integrity are absent. Instead of confronting dishonesty, she chooses to pretend that everything is fine, allowing deception to shape her reality. The foolish woman would rather believe a lie than face the truth that requires her to make a difficult decision. In her personal life, she lives in self-deception. She tells herself she has time when she is wasting it. She convinces herself that bad habits will not catch up to her, that consequences will somehow pass her by. She does not take responsibility for her actions, blaming others, circumstances, or luck for the results of her own choices. When failure comes, she refuses to acknowledge the role she played, choosing excuses over accountability. Instead of learning from her mistakes, she repeats them, never realizing that the truth she refuses to accept is the very thing that could set her free. A woman who disregards truth is easily swayed, led astray by whatever sounds appealing in the moment. She does not seek wisdom, because wisdom requires discipline, patience, and humility, qualities she does not wish to cultivate. She convinces herself that ignorance is bliss, not realizing that ignorance is a prison. And so she remains trapped, living in illusions that will one day come crashing down, leaving her with nothing but regret. Words have the power to build or destroy, to heal or to wound, to bring life or to bring ruin. A wise woman understands the weight of her words, choosing them carefully, but a foolish woman speaks without restraint, allowing her tongue to be a weapon of destruction. She does not consider the consequences of what she says, nor does she take responsibility for the pain her words may cause. She talks too much, too soon, and too recklessly, filling the air with gossip, complaints, and negativity. She speaks not to uplift, but to tear down, not to bring wisdom, but to stir confusion. A foolish woman often engages in gossip, spreading rumors and half-truths without concern for the damage they cause. She finds satisfaction in talking about the failures of others, making herself feel superior by pointing out their flaws. She does not realize that the habit of tearing others down is a reflection of her own insecurity. She thrives on drama, creating conflict where none existed, and fueling divisions among friends, family, and even in the workplace. Rather than bringing peace, she brings strife, her words acting as a poison that slowly destroys trust and relationships. Her destructive speech is not limited to gossip alone. She may be quick to criticize, constantly finding fault in others while failing to examine herself. She belittles instead of encourages, mocks instead of supports, and insults instead of corrects with love. She may use sarcasm as a weapon, hiding cruelty behind humor, never considering how deeply her words cut. A foolish woman does not speak to inspire or to guide, but to control, manipulate, or wound those around her. Her reckless words do not only harm others, they also harm herself. She speaks negatively about her own life, constantly complaining, doubting, and declaring defeat over herself before she has even tried. She curses her own future with words of failure, attracting destruction with the very things she says. She does not realize that what she speaks often becomes her reality. Where a wise woman declares hope, faith, and perseverance, a foolish woman speaks fear, doubt, and despair, never understanding that she is shaping her own downfall with her tongue. Perhaps the most dangerous aspect of a foolish woman's speech is that she often does not recognize its impact. She believes she is simply expressing herself or telling it like it is, never stopping to consider whether her words are bringing life or bringing harm. She refuses to filter her speech, assuming that freedom of expression means freedom from consequences. But in the end, her words return to her like a storm. And in the depth of emptiness, anger, death, and lost opportunities like a storm, leaving behind a trail of broken relationships, lost opportunities like a woman's wisdom or foolishness is revealed not in what she claims to be, but in how she chooses to live. The foolish woman walks a path of destruction, not because she lacks the ability to change, but because she refuses to see the truth. She disregards wisdom, misuses her influence, lacks self-respect, is ruled by emotions, ignores truth, speaks recklessly, and in doing so, harms not only herself but those around her. But here is the hope. Foolishness is not a permanent condition. A woman can choose to walk away from ignorance and embrace wisdom. She can learn to seek truth, control her emotions, respect herself, and use her influence for good. She can guard her tongue, surround herself with wise counsel, and make decisions that lead to growth instead of destruction. The choice is hers. Today, if you see even a trace of these 7 signs in your own life, do not ignore them. Do not let pride keep you trapped in foolishness. Change begins with humility, with the willingness to admit where you have gone wrong, and the courage to choose a better way. A foolish woman may laugh at wisdom, dismissing it as unnecessary, but a wise woman listens, applies, and transforms her life. Which one will you be? The decision is in your hands.